Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Connected with Jennifer Hart. That is me. If you are new here, say hello, introduce yourself, welcome. I'm so happy and excited to be here and to get to know you. And if you are a returning person, say hello. Thank you for joining us again. I love meeting new people. I love connecting with people. Obviously, connected is like the theme. I got it here, here, everywhere. And we are here today. I'm super excited for our guest today. We're going to be talking about winter solstice, which is tomorrow. This is pre-recorded, by the way, just so you know. If you have questions or any comments, please leave them still and interact. We'll be checking the comments. But if we don't acknowledge you on camera, that is why. I like to say that just to make sure that people know that we see you and we hear you. If we don't respond immediately, it's because this is previously recorded. But today will be December 20th, and tomorrow is going to be the winter solstice. Super exciting. And we have another hot topic today, boundaries. Oh my gosh, this is something that I have been working on in my life personally. So it's going to be really great to talk about it. And I'm so excited to have an expert and a guide in the network, the Connected Soul Network membership, who is able to bring this topic to us and to teach us on it. If you're like, what is the Connected Soul Network membership? Let me tell you. The Connected Soul Network membership has two membership options. Both are open now. Yay! It's been a long time in the making. So we have explorers, anybody that's looking to just better their life and personal development. Maybe they're on a spiritual path. We definitely have a spiritual vibe. I will say that, which I love it. That's part of who I am. And then we have our guides. Guides are all coaches, healers, therapists, anybody that's a practitioner that's leading people to have their best life, find the best, highest possible path for themselves, better themselves, help to heal themselves. And then anybody that supports those types of business functions for guides are also guides. I call them the entrepreneurial back end support. Those people are needed in the membership as well. So the links will be here. If it sounds like something you're like, I'm interested. We do a lot of events. We do these interviews. We have a back portal that has all of the interviews nicely recorded. You can checkbox when you watch one. You can get exclusive recordings of events if you aren't able to attend live. Those all for members only. And if you are a member, you are able to attend the events free most of the time, sometimes maybe discounted. And if you are a non-member, it's $15 per event. So I'll put the link. You can check it out and join us. We would love to have you. With that being said, let me introduce to you Lorie Solay. She is amazing. She is a connection from one of my childhood friends. I just love that everybody is a connector, right? I'm not the only one. Everybody is a connector, connecting all the time. We all love to help people. And my friend Jen connected me with Lorie and said, you two have to meet. And Lorie is fabulous, as all are most of my connections, like people who I hang out with and attract, I guess you could say, are all very awesome, cool, loving people. And then they attract the same. And so we're all getting connected together. Side note. Okay. Lorie Solay is an award-winning hypnotherapist and personal growth coach. She's always loved the topic of human potential. Me too. She studied under many of the world-renowned leaders of the field. Her clients describe her as intuitive, powerful, solid, caring, loving, genuine, happy, enthusiastic, and persistent. I can definitely see all those things. I love that. Lorie's mission is to help people awaken to their true spiritual nature and ride the wave of the ascension that's happening on planet Earth right now. She understands the challenges many people face when they're living a busy modern lifestyle that keeps them in stress and fear. Most are disconnected from who they really are. She blends both science and spirituality in her coaching sessions, which helps make her coaching methods feel grounded. I can't wait to just talk about all these topics that she teaches on. Let me bring her on first, though. Hello, lovely. How are you?
Hello, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everybody that's a part of this amazing community. And Jen, thank you for bringing amazing people together. You are brilliant at what you do.
Thank you. That is my gift. You know, we all have our soul's gifts and our soul's callings, and it's finally so exciting for me because I've been looking for so long, exploring, as I should call it, to find mine. And so to be able to use my gift and help you use yours is like the ultimate just fulfillment. Fulfillment is so important for me. And so thank you for being a part of that. So Lorie is a new guide to the membership. She is amazing. And like I said, she's going to teach on boundaries. I always like to say how we met. So I kind of already said, like, one of my childhood friends lives in the same area as you, and she told me about you and was like, I have to connect you. And then she told you about me, and then she finally made that connection. We were able to meet. And then it's right at the time that I got the guides membership up and running. And you were like, sounds amazing, I'm in. And I was like, yes, please, because everything, you do so much cool stuff. Like, we're not even going to be able to cover it all today. So we're going to have you back again already, because I mean, you talk about all about like the solstices, and we're going to talk about that because that's a huge thing with it being tomorrow. It's for the Call to Connect event, which I haven't mentioned yet. You're going to be our speaker. Gosh, and then you have all these topics. I'm just going to read a couple real quick. Activating intuition. I know a ton of people that want and need that. Psychic development, earth portals and vortex energy. Super freaking cool. Metaphysical and quantum realms, meditation, out of body experiences, astral travel, and lucid dreaming, crystals, sound healing, power of intention, and power of language. And that's not even everything. Like, you and I have talked about even more stuff. So I'm just giving them a sneak peek.
Oh gosh, I know. It's funny when you have to sit and do these bios, because I'm like, okay, what else is it that I've added to, that I've studied? Because all of this I originally found fascinating for myself, and then as I learned it and practiced it in my own life, it just felt natural to bring it, to step through the door and help others through the doorway of the spiritual, we're talking about the spiritual journey for most people. And of course, all of the things that we're experiencing right now because of, what they're calling this ascension that's happening, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So
yeah. Can you define an ascension real quick? Because I know what it is, but I always think back to when I started my explorer journey, hence the name Explorers. And I was like, what the heck is happening to me? So if you could give us a definition and kind of what is it, that would be amazing.
Yeah, and everybody has sort of their term and the way that they express it. But for me, I believe it is kind of that global evolution that's happening. And there are lots of different kind of concepts and philosophies on how, Earth is sort of splitting, and there's one that's ascending from the third to the fourth to the fifth realms. And there's so many different kinds of concepts out there around that. But really, I believe it's a global evolution.
Yeah.
And we can see that now. We can experience both heaven and hell in our own lives. Like, it isn't really about these realms that we're supposed to go to or go down, or go up. It's really about right here and right now, and the frequency and the energetics that we bring into our own lives that either create the heaven or the hell. But there are real cosmological things happening, like the heartbeat of the planet is speeding up. She's also ascending, and we're feeling it. And so there's a lot of these different symptoms that people talk about now that are like, oh my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
So did I answer that? Did that make sense?
Yes, I think so. And so, and I'll add to it of what I have experienced it as is my whole journey started as I made this bucket list and just started doing these things that called to my soul that I was curious about. And as I did that, I ended up expanding my out of my comfort zone. And now when I look back in hindsight, it was actually the catalyst for my spiritual awakening. And that to me is like that very first ascension step that you take. So it's like changing that frequency that you talked about, learning, evolving, growing. I started to question things like, who am I? Like, why am I this way? How come I keep living out this pattern? I want this, but I'm not getting it. Like, what's the disconnect? And so it's really simple. And then it's like you start, as you open up more, you have these stages. And that's where like each one is an ascension upgrade, right? And so, I mean, that's kind of how I understand it. So I love like merging the two together with the definitions. And there's always somebody that's listening that like is going to hear it in the way that they need to hear it just by the people who are sharing it. So thank you for sharing that.
Definitely. And I love this. Let me explain this track too, because for most of us, we talk about the awakening. People are waking up and realizing that they're not just, that we are a consciousness having a human experience. So the first step is starting to delve into personal development. Say that's the first step of the kind of the awakening. And then from there, you can step into the alchemist. So these sort of identities. And the alchemist is the one that's learning about all these different kinds of modalities and what they're drawn to, to sort of like amplify what's happening for them.
Yep.
Then from the alchemist, you can move into the sage. And the sage is the one that has a lot more knowledge, has practiced what they're teaching, so they can actually go out and teach. Then the next level is the guru, and the guru tends to be, and normally gurus, they're not out there sort of waving flags that they're a guru. In fact, I think each one of us is our own guru, but there are definitely people who can activate a Kundalini awakening or hold space for these big transformations if somebody's doing ayahuasca or other things. So that's the guru. And then the final step is the avatar. And we know the avatars as Jesus, Buddha, Allah, all of these, Krishna. These are the avatars that walk the earth to spread the knowledge that we are co-creators with the divine. We are a fractal, a piece of divine. So we are our own, we co-create our life. So I don't know if that helps. I always liked that, like that tract.
I love that. Yeah. So it's like every time you're ascending, you're moving up a little piece. Yes. Yes. I feel like there's so many, and then there's ascension within that too, right? So you're slowly like moving little steps to get to that next big step. I love the way that you broke that down.
Yeah. Good.
That's really cool. So tell us first, because we need to talk about the winter solstice. That's like huge, and that's happening tomorrow. And I never really knew how important or monumental it was until I had heard about it, and I knew it was like a very spiritual day, a great day for just checking in with yourself, creating new things, releasing old. But when I was traveling, one of my bucket list items, sell all my stuff and travel around the world with no plans, I ended up in the London area during the winter holidays. And so what I found was that if you go to Stonehenge, the little stone round circle with all the random big, huge stones, you usually can't get close to it. You have to be a mile away, I think is where the markers are, unless you go on solstice, winter or summer. And so I called a friend that I had met through couch surfing, and I was like, do you want to go to the winter solstice? So we got to go in, and they open it up. You can literally be in it and do and they had like singing and dancing and drumming. It was the coolest thing. So we're going to talk about that. But first I want to talk about like where and how did you get into what you're doing? Like, what was your starting point? And I like to share that because I believe that explorers who might be watching this, at some point are going to turn into guides like yourself, right? And so it's like, what was that turning point for you?
Well, I think for me, it was going through the dark night of the soul. I called it the dark decade, actually. The dark decade of the soul. When I grew up, so I'll tell you just a little bit about me personally. When I grew up in a family, my dad was addicted to alcohol. So growing up in that kind of environment, you start to develop certain coping strategies in order to get through life. And most of them tend to be unhealthy. So as I got older, I had to kind of process that. So that was kind of the beginning of sort of me becoming an empath, for one, really understanding what that meant to be an empathic and just kind of sense everything around me. And then I got married, and my husband we went through some really challenging times. And this is what I mean by the dark decade. And because of some of the challenges and the health crises that we were going through as a family, I felt like I had to hold things together. And then when everybody started to get healthy and get help and therapy, I crashed with chronic fatigue. And it took me several years to come out of it. And all of the things, for me, it was always about finding the holistic way to get through the journey and to recognize and honor what I went through. And I'm doing what I'm doing now today because of it, because of that journey. But that was really the impetus, I would say. There was the traumatic stuff as a child, and then it sort of all culminated when I was, I don't know, mid-30s. So That's really how it began. It was the
Thank
dark
you.
decade of the soul.
Yes, and so I actually wrote two things. So I always like to, because to me this terminology is now secondhand, but I always think of who was I when I was just starting my explorer journey. Can you define what a dark night of the soul is, and also an empath as you use them?
Yes, thank you, thank you. So the dark night of the soul is sort of a reference to having to uncover and excavate all of the traumatic stuff that we've been through. For a lot of people, they tend to stuff it down. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about it, but it must be dealt with, in order to continue to evolve and to ascend. If we're talking about ascension, continuing to find that path. So we all, if we're fortunate, we can deal with it. It's traumatic. It takes courage. And this is sort of what Joseph Campbell talks about as the hero's journey. You sort of leave the village and you go out on the quest, and you could, fall into the valley of darkness. And that's sort of that dark night of the soul. And if you can get through that on the other side, you've transcended and transformed your life in many ways. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I see your cat in the background. My cat's shown up also.
Oh yeah, I got my two little guys. Yeah, they're over here in the corner. Yeah, they always
I
like to
love
be in.
cats.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
super
and
sweet.
empath. So like that's a word that's really popular now and thrown around a lot, but like let's define it just if someone's watching this in case they don't know.
We're all empathic for one. Let me just explain that. When we're born, we have mirror neurons in our brain. We are meant to mirror back and forth and to feel. Our nervous systems imprint on each other. So we feel all the time, in fact, and that's why it's a good thing to ground and do some, create some energetic boundaries, which we can talk about. But empathic people tend to be people who are even more sensitive. So, it can be that you've developed it because you had to stay safe. Like in my case, I had to stay safe and I had to really pay attention and sort of turn on my clairs, right? The clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant, like the knowings, that these clairs, and we can talk about that as well. But the empathic people tend to be more sensitive. They also have a term now called HSP, highly sensitive person. So this person lives in the world in a bigger way. And that can be both a blessing and a curse because you're living fully. You can feel, you sense, you notice things, you hear, you smell, you everything. All your senses are heightened. So that can be wonderful in that way. And at the same time, it could also be a challenge because you're absorbing a lot more information that then you have to deal with, that you have to learn how to manage.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. So I did not know until I started getting into personal development and in my spiritual awakening that I was an empath. I just thought that these things were normal and that everybody felt them. And what I have learned, and I agree with you, is everybody is empathic. And how I see it is like a scale, like a 1 to a 10. And so, like an HSP, highly sensitive person, is going to be like an 7, 8, 9, 10. Whereas people that maybe haven't woke up so much or aren't connected to their bodies or their feelings, they're more a 1. But what I've realized is that you can move up this scale, like as you do more work and you're shedding and you become more conscious and more aware, you're actually going to naturally, a side effect for me has been becoming even more empathic, even more intuitive. And when you were talking about the clairs, those are the ways that intuition comes to us. Some people see things. I would always know things, and I didn't know that I knew things because I didn't know that like that was a clair and that was a form of intuition, because all that was talked about when I was growing up was clairvoyance, which is the seeing.
Right,
So
right,
yeah.
right. There's something too that's really interesting. I didn't realize it at the time, but there's something called psychometry, and psychometry is, it's the ability to take an object and read the object and read the life of the object based on the person that owned it.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I'm a huge thrift store fan. Love thrift. I've been thrifting since I was in high school, which was a long time ago. And I would go into the thrift stores and I could only be in there for 45 minutes and I'd start feeling sick to my stomach. And I didn't know what was happening. And then, several years ago, through the course of my own learning through the clairs and all that, I was like, Holy moly. That's exactly what's happening. I'm picking up on, like, it would be like being in a club with 1,000 people. You know, you've got all these objects in a thrift store, and I'm going, oh my gosh. So now that I know what it is, I just clear. You know, I go outside, I might ground for a minute and take a couple deep breaths and then come back in. I'm
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize what was happening. So that's
I
another
love
sensitivity.
Yes, and I love to use things also, especially now that I'm working to live a more sustainable life. Like when I want an air fryer, I want an air fryer right now, like the kind that you have the pull out tray, not like the toaster oven one.
Okay.
And so instead of going to Amazon, I go to the marketplace, and
Yeah.
I'm like, somebody's selling an air fryer, so
Yeah.
let me, instead of creating more waste, I'll do something. So I like thrifting, but my friend had brought it to my attention that things can attach, like that life or the person that owned it can come with it, like their spirit or something. And so now I'm always like, okay, sage everything, like cleanse
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we can intentionally clean, and that's fine too. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
when we know what to do, and that's again part of the process. But yeah, but we're in the world together. We're all connected, so
Yes.
we can't escape it, I guess, ultimately.
Right.
But when
Right.
we
So
know ourselves more, then we're better. We can walk through the world in a more healthy way.
absolutely. I love that. We can't escape it. So that's a reason why you should get to know yourself better and also learn tools to help you cleanse and clear. So when I learned how to cleanse my energy and my aura, and I will do it regularly, I can feel a difference because then I'm feeling myself and my own energy, and I'm not picking up on all the people that are around me. And I had no idea. I really didn't know it until, for me, I was in London again. That was a very monumental trip, I guess. And I
Must
went
have been
to
so
see this.
fun.
Oh, I loved it. It was one of my favorite places. I went to see a healer, and she did some Reiki on me. And she's like, "Oh, whoa, you are like really empathic. Like you have all this extra energy that's not yours." And she even told me, she's like, "You could be on they call it the tube there. We call it the subway here." She's like, "You could be on the tube and like don't even talk to someone, and you will walk away with like their feelings." And it just made so much sense because there's so many times that I'm just so drained, and I'm like, but I haven't even done anything, but I've talked to people or I've been around their energy. And so it's a good topic. I'm like, that's a whole nother topic. Like I
It is
said,
a whole other
Laura
topic. I
and I
know.
can talk forever on so many things. Like she does so much cool stuff.
I know.
I'm gonna like touch the surface today. But let's go back to the winter solstice. So
Okay.
winter solstice is tomorrow. So is Called to Connect. So the Called to Connect events, if you have never heard of them, I've been doing them since the beginning of the year on and off. And now with the membership, they're going to be two times a month. This event is the third Wednesday of the month. The focus is explorers, and also guides are invited, but it's more of a personal connection. And just getting to know each other and building long-term relationships, building community, building support. And they happen right now. The time is 5:30 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm in California. And so most of the people that are joining, that's why it's based in California right now. And as that grows, there will be more events to have other times as well. And Lorie is going to be our speaker because it is on winter solstice. We're going to have a special guided meditation. And then Lorie is going to speak on the winter solstice specifically. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to speak about tomorrow.
So the winter solstice is the darkest night of the year for the Northern Hemisphere. And so we're just going to talk about the cycles of nature and the seasons, the solstice being one of them, and why it's so powerful to really tap into it. I'm sorry, I'm getting an echo, Jen. Are you hearing that on your side?
No, but I'll mute out just in case.
Okay. So it's powerful. It's a very powerful time of year. It's the darkest night of the year, and the celebration for many cultures is to celebrate, first of all, to get through the evening. Some cultures believe that there's a lot of sort of dark energy that's happening, so that's part of the reason why they have fire and light and other things. And then other cultures celebrate because it's the beginning of the sun coming back. So it's the return of the sun. And there's some really interesting facts around the solstice, the actual day. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to talk about the solstitial quadrilateral. And the solstices and the equinoxes are both really important times of the year to harmonize with earth energies. And I'll talk a little bit about that, and some different kinds of ceremonies that you can do to make it a very special day. It's a beautiful day to connect to the energies, to the natural world, to nature, to the nature spirits, to the earth and the cosmos. So we bring all that in, and that's what I'm going to be talking about.
I love that. And so you do have, we talked about, you have a download today that people, if you should come to the event first and foremost. And if you're a member, it will be in the recording in the member portal a couple days after, once we get it up. So you'll get her 10-minute talk, but you have a download. You want to tell us about that?
I do. I have a beautiful solstitial, how to celebrate the solstice, and that the guidebook that I created that you're going to get for free when you download it is going to cover what the solstice is, first of all, cosmologically, what happens with the solstice. And then you're going to get some ideas for both the winter and the summer solstice, and some different kinds of practices, being able to connect with the directions. This is another really powerful way to get connected to nature. So this was really to support you. There are some checklists so that when you want to have your own ceremony, you'll have this little checklist that you can use to make sure that you have every, what items for your altar, and, the different kinds of ceremonies that you can do in terms of opening and closing ceremonies. So that's the free guidebook that I'll be offering for you that you can opt in to get.
That is amazing. Thank you for that. I love when people have free stuff to give away, and there's always, different price points. So it's like, you can go from free to, if you love Lorie and you're like, I want to work with her. She also does, you do one-on-one coaching too, right?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get a little bit more into that in a minute, but I do know that you have a little package that we would call this like a low ticket offer. Right. Yeah. I like to educate people as I talk about things, yes, so it's like a lower ticket offer. So for a smaller amount of money, you can buy some extra things.
Yeah. So when you opt in to get the free guidebook, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth training on it. It'll be $27, and you'll see that in the email sequence that you'll get when you opt in, the thank you page. When that shows up, I'll have information about this $27 offer. And the beautiful thing about it is you will, if you purchase it, then you go into the member area and you have access to it whenever you need it. So you might use it right now for the winter solstice, but then go, oh yeah, I can go back and actually review this again. And again, I go in a little bit more deeply. I bring in a lot more different kinds of ceremonies and things that you can do that's different from the guidebook. And then you can go back in the summer for the summer solstice and come back into the membership area and go through the training again. So it's there as a resource for you. And that will be $27. And you'll see that on the thank you page and in your email sequence that you'll get from me when you join.
Yay. And it includes some MP3s too, right?
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. See, it's always great to have meetings before you start the recording. That's right. So you're also going to get, because I'm a hypnotherapist, I've created several MP3s, but the ones I'm going to give you when you buy this package one is called the morning rhythm. So setting your energetic intent for the morning. So I have an MP3 for you. It's called the morning rhythm. And then the other one is stress relief for busy people. So it's sort of it's a meditation on kind of grounding and coming back to center. Because this is another thing that's important for those of us that want to stay on the spiritual track, is to let go of fear and stress. And that shuts the door on creativity and intuition and all of that. So those are the two MP3s that you'll also get. Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome. I was like, wait, but there's more. I crack myself up. I'm like, let me use all the things. Like, only if you're my age or older, you'll know. But there's more. I don't remember what it's from.
Wait, but there's more, right?
Yeah. But it's from some infomercial. I'm like, but wait, there's more. So it's cool. So if you are interested, we will have the link for the free download. And there's no obligation to buy anything else, but if you feel called, then you will have the option to purchase the $27 package. And if you are loving Lorie and you're like, well, I just love her, let's talk about what Lorie actually does. So I have a list for this. Hold on, I want to read this too. So she is certified hypnotherapy, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, Master Practitioner, and an NLP Health Practitioner. A PSYCH-K Facilitator. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds super interesting. Quantum Consciousness Facilitator, Massage Therapist, Personal Trainer. I did not know that until I read this. And this one is like my favorite. I think it's the coolest thing. Sacred Geometry Master Builder Certification, which is in progress now. So
which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, all of them. So I assume you bring all these tools into your coaching business, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then who would you say that you primarily serve in your coaching business? I know you can probably work with anybody, but is there like a group that you tend to enjoy the most, or that you've kind of just created a niche with?
Yeah, my niche tends to be I tend to be a self-care coach for spiritually minded mamas. That tends to be the niche. And
Yeah.
again, you're right, I can work with anybody. In fact, I have lots of different, a variety of different people in my spiritual practice. The boundaries and the self-care really sort of are driven home for the moms, the spiritually minded mamas. So, and it just helps me kind of refine my message. So that would be my niche. Yes.
But you can work with anybody.
But
And
I
how do
can
you
work with
use all these tools in there, like all these certifications? How does that look like, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's really because I'm a lifelong learner and all of these I've used for myself. That's the key is that I've brought them into my own life. They all serve a different purpose based on what is appropriate for each person. So it's not a cookie cutter situation. I meet people where they are and I use I love having options. I'm an options gal. So I have options to be able to work with people based on where they're at. So hypnotherapy is beautiful. And the thing is that we're all hypnotized every day, so we're on our phones, we're watching TV, kind of the stories we tell ourselves continue to hypnotize us, keep us stuck in, in that place that, if we're wanting to go one place, but we're stuck. That's the stories that we're telling ourselves. So the unlimited, the limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. So hypnotherapy is a little more of a gentle process that I like. NLP is based in somatic psychology, so somatic being the body. So it's more active. It's a more active process. So I like having the two. Quantum consciousness is a more in-depth, it's a bigger hypnotherapy session where we kind of continue to expand our consciousness. It's sort of like an out of body. It's sort of like an astral traveling. I had a client one time, we went way out into sort of that connecting to all that divine space. And when she was coming back, she sort of said, "Oh my gosh, I can't move my body." She was conscious, but her body, she was astral, she was out. She hadn't connected back to her body yet. So she started to kind of whimper a little bit, and I'm like, it's totally okay. This is exactly you went way out. So I just came over and I grabbed her hand and she was immediately back in her body. So it's a big experience, and it's for people who they feel like they really want a big transformation. They need to be able to like get unstuck from all of the kind of the denser realities that they've been living in. What else? PSYCH-K. PSYCH-K is also it's another form of changing limiting beliefs. The beliefs, the things that we think, the memories that we hold are old and outdated. Even our memories, they say that they really aren't what originally happened. We keep rethinking them. We keep creating that groove in our brain, of the like sort of the synapses that's happening in the brain. When we can unplug from that, that's kind of what PSYCH-K helps us do. It helps us kind of break those old patterns, and it's a more physical process. It's something, if people follow Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's very much into it. So Dr. Bruce Lipton has been promoting PSYCH-K for a long time. What
Okay.
else?
And then, well, I can hear the echo, so I keep muting out. But astral travel, can you tell people what that is? Because they might not know.
So we have an auric field around us. So we are an electromagnetic being. So right now you're looking at me in my physical body. However, I have layers of energetic bodies that create this auric field around us, our energy field. So when we go out of body, when we astral travel, and we do this every night when we dream. In fact, you might know this because you might go, "Oh yeah, you're right." Because you might have a dream that you can say, well, that wasn't really a dream. I went somewhere. I felt it. Or maybe I was lucid in my dream. Yeah. You woke up and you realized you were in your dream, but you're in this state of paralysis because the body, you're disconnected. So you're astral there. Astral is like the next layer to the physical body. This is kind of the astral realm. So you can pop into your energetic body and have experiences. There's so much more to explore outside the physical body. So does that make sense?
Yes. So it's basically leaving your body and exploring in the astral realm or spiritual realm.
Yes. So there are multiple layers to, I mean, what we have a very limited idea of what true reality is. We're here in the physical realm, but even this is an illusion. What we see is based on what we believe. We So when we pass, we leave the physical body behind, but we still exist in all the ways that we are. And that is those, we go into an energy body or an energetic body. And that's when we reach this astral realm or beyond. There are layers. They talk about layers of heaven in some of the ancient text. These are just levels of frequency that people reach, and we can reach those with our energy body, our energetic body. So that's what an out of body experience is that you're experiencing who you truly are. You're not the physical body. This isn't you, right? We're consciousness having a human experience, but that out of body means that we've been able to disconnect from the physical body, and we're still attached. They talk about having a silver cord, but we can go and explore. We can go, around the globe, or we can go out into the cosmos and experience other planets. And so it's
There's
very profound.
It's crazy because as I learn and grow more and deepen my connection and awareness and consciousness and release more, it's like I am more aware of these things. I just didn't know what they were. So I think I don't know what grade I was, but I remember I was getting these books from the library, and there was a book that it was for kids my age, but it was about astral travel. And I was so intrigued. And this is how I know that like I finally got connected back to my true self, is because the universe was talking to me the whole time with like these little things, and it felt so right. Like my 8th grade report I did on paganism or witchcraft, like both of them. And I've always been super connected to animals, and it's like I look back at all of those things as a kid thinking like, why did I know these things? There was no internet back then, and I was so drawn to intuitives and psychics, and I wanted to go and meet them and talk to them. And so it's just so funny like to hear all the things now, and now they're becoming more well like spoken about, more normal. People are having their experiences, and
Yeah,
that is creating them to wake up, because they're like,
yeah.
what is happening to me? Am I crazy? Which is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is so that people know there's more people like you out there. And actually we're all like that. A lot of people have just turned it off and
Yeah.
they're disconnected, but things are happening that people are getting reconnected whether they want to or not, and they need to have the support and stuff. So I love that you can come on and talk about these things and help to give people an understanding of what might be happening for them.
Oh, it's incredible, really. I mean, it's the potential. It blows my mind. Like, this is probably one of the best times to exist because there's just so much possibility. Again, everybody's sort of waking up, and there were cultures way back that had this understanding. We know that there's like ancient texts and the ways that they would practice from a spiritual perspective. And then uh, about 300 years ago, science took hold, and it eliminated the spiritual part of our lives. It became very analytical, very scientific, and we grew up in that way. So for a lot of us, again, it's coming back around and listening to the little voice that's kind of been saying, hey, hey, I get poked in the back all the time, like, come on. I'm like, all right, already. I'm going, like, certain things that I know it's time for me to do or get on or speak about. So yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Just
we could
follow
go
the
on and on.
intuition.
We don't have a ton of time, so I'm
Okay.
like, I want to just touch real quick though on the Sacred Geometry Master Builder certification. Can you
Yes.
just say what that is? Because you've told me about it, and I haven't heard anybody that does anything like this, so that's why I
I
just wanted
know.
to
It's
put
such
it
a
out there.
it's a very, yes, the master builders were the shamans way back in the day, the druids, the pagans, the people that lived close to the land and listened and felt the energy of the land. And they even say, Pythagoras, which was the mathematician back in the day, could hear the sound of the planets. Like, this is how in touch people were way, way back. So this certification I'm doing is with a couple in France, and he learned from another master builder. These are the ancient ways that were passed down to harmonize space, to connect with the earth and the sun and the cosmos, but it's the sun. We have these grids around the planet. We have ley lines, we have telluric energy, we have vortices. There's so much activity on the planet that these ancients would, through these techniques, would find places that were harmonized for humans to live. And they would use this art to find these places where they could first build their altars and temples. And then when the Roman Catholics came in and they sort of plowed over their natural temples and built churches on these sites. So many of the churches in Europe, around the world actually, were built on these sacred sites that have special vortices and energies that activate the chakras, clean and cleanse. There's different energetics based on where you're at, but the science of the math of creating this, and we can do this now. We can actually harmonize our homes by using these techniques. So if we have water lines or fault lines under our house, that's detrimental to our bodies. And we hear about places like, somebody lived in a house and they got cancer, and then the next they moved out and somebody else moved in and they got cancer. So there's something under the ground that needs to be harmonized, and that's what this old ancient knowledge does, is it harmonizes our spaces. Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been studying this for several years, and I finally jumped in with both feet to like, okay, I'm going to get certified and I'm going to learn how to do this so I can help people.
Oh, that's so freaking cool. So yeah, so it's funny because I'm not a religious person. I don't identify with any religions. If any, if I had to pick one, probably be Buddhism. But as I went and was doing my travels, I always like to explore and find out about other things, be curious, learn about them. And I went to a lot of churches because they're beautiful. And it's crazy because the energy in some of them was so when you said that, I was like, that makes sense. Like, oh my gosh, like I just went in and like vibrating, like I'm vibrating, like I could feel it inside of me, And
Yep.
I've been to the vortexes in Sedona, and yeah, just like once you kind of, if you're not tapped or tuned in, you may not necessarily notice it, but once you again start to like do more awareness work and work for yourself, it's like you can feel it more. So it's pretty cool.
There's interesting things too historically that my teachers talked about, like the monks that would live on the land. They created these hemp robes, and they have these hemp ties that would actually tamp down the energy, because they were so sensitive that just even being out on the land, talk about being empathic or HSPs, highly sensitive people, they had to do certain things to sort of tap down the energy. And a lot of these farmers that you see walking in these villages, they have their hands behind their back. They're sort of just clasped behind their back, which is a posture to help tap down the energy a little bit because they're so sensitive. So just weird, strange little things that you're like, oh yeah, I've noticed that, and so it's amazing work. And I'm excited to be studying it.
Oh, it just fascinates me. Like, I love it so much. And now that you're saying that, like, I can imagine like places that I've been in out of country and in other countries that we went, and they have farming, like in Bali and Vietnam, and seeing like as soon as you said that image, I saw it. I was like, yes, I've seen that. So that's really cool to know.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to talk, we were going to talk about the winter solstice. So we did a little bit of that. People can get a download. Is there anything else you want to add if someone's watching this about the winter solstice? That
I just, because we are animals and part of this planet, we are part of the cycles, whether we participate or not. But when we begin to participate, we become even more deeply connected to the seasons. We follow the seasons. For most of us in the modern world, we're just go, go, go. Our lights are on until midnight, 1 a.m. Like our bodies, the circadian rhythm of our bodies is sort of thrown off because of it. So when we connect back to this beautiful seasonal cycle, we can go through this, we can process, we start to feel, we can tap into the energies that are happening and work with the energies rather than against them. And so this is why I would say, the solstices and the equinoxes, and I know Jen, you'll probably do something for the equinox as well. You're hitting the seasonal cycles. This is one of the most amazing ways to live a healthy, happy, prosperous, thriving life, to connect with the seasons, be a part of it. Don't work against it. Really tap into it and enjoy and celebrate these seasonal changes. It's powerful.
I love that. And yes, I am trying to tap into that myself. So now that it's winter, I'm like, okay, well, it's only light from like 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. here where I live. And so I'm like, I should probably do other things than work into the night and rest more. So it's like I want to rest more and just hibernate, because that's like what winter is kind of for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm trying to tap in and tune into it. So I love learning about it, and it just fascinates me so much. And then we wanted to talk about boundaries. I mean, we should have just made that. We should have just made that a separate thing. So let's do just like a teaser, and we're just gonna have to do a
That's
whole
fine.
separate thing.
That's fine. We can totally come back around for sure.
Yeah.
There's the boundaries piece, I think, is, for me, when sharing how I grew up and some of my experiences, it took me a long time to learn about boundaries. And I think for women especially, we tend to be more of the caregiver, not everybody. And again, I don't want to generalize, but just from my own experience as a mother, especially, we tend to really give away our energy. We tend to get caught kind of in that conflict, the drama triangle, the perpetrator, the rescuer, the victim. We tend to fall into that rescuer role and kind of support everybody else at the detriment of our own health. So for me, boundaries and understanding how to create healthy boundaries is just tantamount to self-care. It's really one of the pillars of self-care. And that's why I talk about that so much with my clients, and especially with my mom clients, because you can't continually give away your energy. I mean, that was what happened to me. And that's when I fell down into that, the dark decade, as I mentioned, with chronic fatigue. It really took me out. I mean, I'm surprised I'm standing here. It was very scary. So for me, self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem, all of those are the benefits of setting boundaries. So
I'm a recovering rescuer and a recovering people pleaser who is just learning how to have boundaries and be okay with saying no. I don't have to say yes to everything I'm invited to. What people think is that I'm an extroverted, outgoing social person. What people don't know is that I'm actually also very introverted and require a lot of downtime for my energy to regroup, and or it has to be aligned too, because sometimes I can go to an event, I can want to go to an event, but if it doesn't fulfill me and feed my soul, I will leave feeling drained. So it's also, what is the topics? Who am I connecting with? Like, if you want to come and talk spirituality, personal development, business, like, I can talk for hours and be lit up. But if we're talking about, I don't know, just other things that aren't any
politics or blah, yeah, I get it.
Politics kills me. Just, definitely not into politics. Then it's like, you want to talk about solutions, like what you want to do to change something, that would energize me. Just talking about problems and not having solutions or wanting to solve or get involved, like that would drain me. And I come home. And so it's like, as I've got to know myself more, being an explorer, I've learned this about myself. And so I'm probably more of an ambivert, which is like 50, like 50% extrovert, 50% introvert. And the topics of conversation are so important. And for me, I always want people to like me. So I'm like, yes, I'll do everything. Like, let me help you with this. That's also the rescuer. So I see a direct tie with that. And so boundaries have been and I'm still practicing, and it feels very uncomfortable. Like, I was telling a story today that I said no to somebody. They asked me for something and I said no because it didn't feel in alignment for me. And then I basically had a panic attack because I said no. And I was like, oh my God, is this person still going to like me? Are they going to take their friendship away? Are they going to take their love away? Like, all these trauma responses came up. And so it's just interesting. And it was fine. They totally understood. They're a great friend and they got it, and they were like, I totally understand. And my intuition was right, because it was actually a situation that it wouldn't have been good if I said yes for everybody. And so learning to be okay with saying no, and I don't want to say consequences because I feel like that could have a negative connotation, but what the outcome might be, knowing that it'll be okay and I can navigate it, trusting myself, like you said, knowing my value and my worth. Oh, it's just, they're so phenomenal. And I think where people, at least myself, I can speak for myself, need help with, and maybe this is something that you can help. And I don't know if you have a course, you can tell me about it in a minute, but like, is we got to wrap up at the same time. It's like how to have boundaries, but for me it's the wording. Like, what are simple easy phrases that I can use to respond to things? So now I used to over explain myself. If someone invites me somewhere, I'm like, oh, I can't because this, and this, and this. And then it opens a whole other conversation. I feel like I'm defending myself, like as to why they think I should still go. Now just, oh, I can't have plans. Like, it's so simple. But like, it never crossed my mind until I was taught it,
Exactly. No, and I've been reading a lot about the nervous system, and what I find fascinating now, they keep adding on to, it's fight, flight, or freeze. Freeze was something new that came on, I don't know, a decade or two ago, but now they have fawn in there. So it's fight. So when we're in our sympathetic nervous system, it's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And fawn is when we acquiesce because of those reasons, right? We either are afraid, so we sort of give in, we people please. These are all of the behaviors of the fawning aspect of that stressed state. So when we understand that, and we can go back and deal with some of the old ways we used to cope, as you say, not we want to belong, we want to feel like we belong. But if we're not being true to ourselves, if we're not honoring our relationships by being authentically ourself, then the relationship isn't a good one anyway. So there's so much to it, and it's so beautiful when we do finally figure it out. And I still continue to practice. I still have to say to myself, oh man, I didn't really do that the right way. I didn't. But I'm loving when we find the boundaries that we can walk through the world and feel like we have a right. We can be unapologetically ourselves, and we feel like we have a right to take up space on this planet. That's where when we don't have boundaries, we feel like we're always moving out of the way for everybody else, and like, and giving other people precedent and importance in our lives. So anyway, thank you. And thanks for sharing your experience with it.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to share.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I'm like, I'll talk to anybody who will listen. That's not true. It's pretty true. I'm a pretty open book. But okay, so I know while I'm watching the time, we gotta keep wrapping up within the hour. But do you have any tools or resources for people who are looking for more boundaries? We'll do like a whole nother live. We'll plan out like a more detailed one. We tried to kind of squeeze it with the
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I have a bunch of courses. I have a complement of courses called the Boundary Foundry. So forging healthy boundaries. And I have a boundary basics. And then there's the boundary violations barrier blueprint, which is like the next step. And then the final one is Queen of Delegation. And this one is kind of geared towards mamas, to be able to delegate and learn how to share the invisible workload that a lot of them struggle with, that causes serious overwhelm, especially right now through the holidays for moms. Oh, it's on, overwhelm on overdrive. So the Boundary Foundry course, my digital courses, yes, you can, and I can share that link with you at some point.
Yeah. Is it on the website, on your website?
It is not on. I'm in the process of actually switching over to Kajabi from my website, but I've got a link with my store that I can give you.
Yeah, please give me that and I'll post it in the captions. So if anyone is like, I need help with boundaries now, and then you are available to do one-on-one work if anyone's looking for a coach.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Definitely. And how would they contact you? Should I post your website?
Yes. Well, again, yes, they can still contact me through the website that's currently on a WordPress, right? I'm going to switch it over, but they can also reach me at Lorie at Solay Creative. So and I think you'll put that in the link, but Lorie, Lorie at Solay, SOLAY, the word creative.com. You can just email me and we can chat. And I do an initial 30-minute free discovery call to kind of feel out what's happening and answer questions and sort of meet each other.
See if it's a good fit, which is very important because whoever you choose to work with, it has to feel safe to you, have like a connection, and you'll know, your higher self knows. Like there's people I've met and they are full of knowledge and they're amazing. People love them and they just don't feel like a good fit for me. And then there's some people I just connect with and I'm like, yes, like you're it. Like, let's do it.
Tag, you're it.
Yes, 100%. I'll put all those links in there.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to join us in the membership, that link's going to be available. The event tomorrow that Lorie's going to be speaking at, that will be available as well. And then I'll put all of Lorie's links for if you want to download the free winter solstice. The boundaries course, I think, would be important. And then I'll also put your website and your email.
Perfect.
The thing with the email, I feel like the spammers come out sometimes. So I'm like, maybe if someone watches this, write me or Lorie will be tagged on it and you can write us personally because I get worried about that. I get all these things like, I've looked at your website and I'm like, I don't even have a website. Where'd you get my email address from? Maybe we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, I'm excited for anybody that's a part of this community. I'm just really, I just am in love with what's happening right now on the planet as it relates to, again, ascension, the evolution and this sort of love frequency that's taking over. I'm really loving it. And Jen, I just think you're such a bright star in all of this. And I just really appreciate you being out there and sharing the love and sharing the word, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. I feel like I'm finally stepped into like my mission and my calling and my soul's work. And it's so great to have the connections and support of other people that are on the same path and the same mission, which is what I'm creating in the Connected Soul Network membership for people who also feel that same calling. And the love frequency is so important to me. Like I'm calling in people that are of love and high vibration because there are people that also do this work that don't always have loving intentions. And I'll educate more on that in the future. But for now, that's all we have today. That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. Murder, She Wrote. Anybody?
I do. Yes, I know that one. Yep. Angela Lansbury. I know that one.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have an amazing day, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.